Some products are difficult to explain. It's not hard to explain how they're designed or what's in them. It's hard to explain what it's like using them, how it feels to interact with them, and most importantly, how it makes you feel. The Vision Pro is weird like this, and I'm gonna do my best to explain my experience with it and whether or not you should consider getting it. If you enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and my Twitter is in the description. So what is the Vision Pro for? That's the biggest question, right? Why should you need one? The Apple Vision Pro is a spatial computing device. So while some people call it a VR headset, some people call it an AR headset, they're all kind of getting it right. Apple made up the verbiage spatial computing, and I think that was mostly to distance themselves from the competitors, but I also think it kind of gets across their vision for what they think people will use this product for. I did a video a few months ago about the iPad Pro and whether I think it can replace a MacBook Pro. And in that video, I referenced when Steve Jobs said on stage, when they made the iPad, they were trying to find a device that worked perfectly between a smartphone and a MacBook. The Vision Pro is kind of like the middle ground between the iPad and the MacBook, but in the upside down. Let me explain. The things I ended up naturally doing on the Vision Pro were most of the things I did on the iPad previously, as well as I did multiple things that added to my experience with a Mac. And I want to highlight all of these experiences and how they felt, as well as how they differed from doing these things on a different device. Content consumption is the big one I'd like to get out of the way first. This is something I do a lot of on my iPad, watching shows, movies, YouTube videos, and I know that there isn't a native app on the Vision Pro for YouTube, and you have to use Safari, but it is good enough, and there will be a YouTube app right around the corner. And consuming content on the Vision Pro is incredible. Whether I keep the content on a display in my home or I bring it into one of the environments or the theater experience, the viewing experience is just absolutely fantastic. And it rivals my home cinema setup, which rings in at around the same price as a Vision Pro. I found that to honestly be remarkable. The viewing experience in the Vision Pro is second to none. The micro OLED displays are incredibly beautiful, and you really just have to see it to believe it. With movies though, a lot of the movies I watched were 3D, and I guess I overlooked that when getting the device. But yes, the Vision Pro does 3D movies, and it is some of the best 3D that I've ever experienced. The 3D is incredibly distinct and immersive. The one issue with consuming content has to do with the pancake lenses on the display. I won't get into all the science of it, but if you're watching a bright film in a dark environment, there can be a little bit of glare on the display lenses, which is really easily fixable by just using a brighter environment. And in the end, it is just a little bit annoying, but not that big of an issue. Fact of the matter is that consuming content is a massive highlight of this device. Now, before I get into my favorite use of the Vision Pro, I want to highlight the experience of actually putting it on and having it on and using it. The materials on the Vision Pro are fantastic and incredibly premium, but with all of that premium comes a very heavy headset. And I know every YouTuber under the sun has complained about how heavy the headset is on YouTube and Twitter, but the fact of the matter is you're wearing a massive set of ski goggles on your face full of glass and metal, and it sits right on your cheekbones, and it can get kind of heavy and uncomfortable after a while. Putting it on though, you generally unlock the device with a passcode or Iris ID, which is an eye scan that works exactly the same as Face ID does, but with your eyes. After that though, the app menu pops up and you're in the system. Vision OS is really nice. It's kind of similar to iPad OS. If you use any Apple products that are mobile, you will find the operating system completely intuitive. If you use a Mac, you'll find it intuitive too. Apple designs pretty intuitive operating systems. The only big design change I noticed in Vision OS was that the app icons are circles now instead of the classical rounded corner squares. Kind of makes me think if we'll see that design change come into iOS and iPad OS soon. The input for the device is your eyes and your hands. You look at something to highlight it, and then you pinch your fingers to click it. You can also walk over and touch most buttons, which feels really weirdly intuitive. It honestly just kind of feels like magic. It's not 100% perfect, but when you're in a well-lit environment and everything is working perfectly, it is honestly insane, and it's a glimpse into the future. Every time I put it on and it's going on all stops, I honestly kind of gobsmacked by it. It's incredible. And like I said, it feels like magic. Now, the thing that I found myself doing the most on it besides content consumption is interfacing with my MacBook through it. Now, I do all my school and my YouTube stuff on my MacBook, so I'm very commonly down here in my living room sitting at the kitchen table on my laptop just working away. And whenever I put on my Vision Pro and my laptop's in front of me, a button just appears above my MacBook asking to connect. As soon as I hit that, my screen blacks out and an entire MacBook display appears right in front of me in my Vision. While I'm using the window for my Mac, I can also open any Vision OS iOS apps around me, which basically means I can just create my perfect productivity space around me when I'm sitting at the kitchen table. Maybe I have ADHD, but sitting down, being able to surround myself with all the work and things I need to stay focused on is an incredibly helpful thing. You'd think that I could get distracted by all the different apps and stuff you could do in the Vision Pro, but when I'm sitting there and everything I see is all the different things I need to work on, I find it incredibly helpful. That leads me to the environments feature as well. I go in and out of them when I'm working. The headset allows you to turn the digital crown and just spin yourself into a completely virtual environment. You can dictate how deeply you are in the environment, but sometimes I just go into them and hang out because they can honestly be incredibly relaxing. You can choose how immersed you are in them though. I very commonly will be halfway in a virtual environment, so when I'm looking forward and working on stuff, I'm in my own space, but I can still look off to my left or my right and see my cats walking by if I need to. It's an awesome way to have a beautiful backdrop on a lot of the work that you do in the Vision Pro. There's also stuff like FaceTime that you can do in Vision Pro, which is really cool, but kind of weird. The Persona feature is cool, but it's still really weird, and I'm sure it'll be amazing once they make it better, but the fact that I know that somebody is seeing an animated fake version of me, regardless of how realistic it looks, is still awkward, and people who I have FaceTime have thought it was equally awkward. So basically though, you can do everything that you would do on the iPad in the Vision Pro, as well as it's an awesome display and multitasking tool for a MacBook. But for $3,500? These are all pretty small and simple things, and sure, added up, they equal a lot, but are they really worth $3,500 to the consumer? Yes and no. And this is the hardest thing to talk about with the Vision Pro because it's incredibly personal. And this is also why I think the verbiage, spatial computing, was interesting. The Vision Pro pretty much lets you do all the things you've already done, but it lets you do them in a different way, and that way is much more personal and intimate. It's a one thing to have a picture on a display in front of you and look at it and remember when you took it and what you were feeling. And it's another thing completely to have it quietly floating around you and feel completely immersed in that moment. It's hard to talk about emotions when reviewing a tech product, but that's where the Vision Pro gets really interesting. I opened my photo library the other day in Vision Pro when I looked at the panoramas, which I don't really look at often. And there were two panoramas specifically I looked at. One was at Mount Rainier, which is a beautiful mountain, and the other was in Paris. When I blew them up into the immersive mode to view panoramas, my reaction was purely emotional. I was there again and experiencing every little detail. Even writing this script in the Vision Pro, I feel more emotionally compelled and connected to it. Navigating apps with my eyes and pinching things that I see in my own reality while knowing it's completely private and nobody else can see it is a rather intimate way to experience your digital lifestyle, and it's incredibly personal and special. Spatial computing is more than having your digital stuff in your space. It's bringing your digital life and your real life closer together. There's some things that are amazing about that and some things that probably aren't amazing about that. Either way, Apple has made a remarkable product and it's worth trying. The Vision Pro is special and it is a glimpse into the future of human interfacing with a computer. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Currently working on a video right now where I can go outside and get some opinions on this thing from random people so we can discuss whether it's good for society or bad for society. I'm also working on other videos as well. Twitter is also in the description if you'd like to interact with me as well, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See ya.